Hello everyone, in this video I'll be showing you a Hunter Ranger build in Baldur's Gate 3 updated for patch 8, which introduces some new things to the game. Now for starters, I'm just going to mention playing as a wood elf for the extra movement speed's great, but I would actually recommend playing as a high elf or high half elf to be able to get the booming blade, which is a huge boost to our overall damage. We'll also grab our favorite enemy. The bounty hunter gives targets disadvantage in their saving throw against the ensnaring strike, so we're much more likely to land it. You also, if you prefer heavy armor, the Ranger Knight can be great, but in my experience, most early game choices for medium armor will outweigh this due to the bonus from the armor dexterity modifier to their armor class. So yeah, if you really like heavy armor, you could go Ranger Knight, but I think Bounty Hunter is better early on. And for the Natural Explorer, you can add the Beast Tamer for the free Raven. The Raven can blind enemies, which is really nice. I also like the Wasteland Wanderer Fire, as you're going to encounter fire damage pretty consistently throughout this game, but the Beast Tamer can be nice to give you that Raven again early game, just for the extra damage and blindness on the target, which gives you advantage in attack rolls against it. Now for our ability scores, Dexterity is going to be our main stat here, so we're going to want to invest heavily in that. I also like to go with at least 14 Constitution. You can swap these two stats around, but I think Dexterity brings a lot of value, so we want to have that high. You can also drop your Wisdom down. This is mainly just for spell casting, which we don't do a whole lot of, so you can honestly just drop that and put those points into Constitution if you prefer, but I'm going to roll with a stat spread of something like this. Level 2 gives us a fighting style and some spells. I would recommend the archery fighting style since we're a hunter using a bow. It just makes sense. Although going with the defense for +1 armor class is also a very nice option. And for the spell selection, now early game we do got the benefits of Ensnaring Strike to give targets disadvantage in their saving throw. Just be mindful this eats up your bonus action, so that is a big downside. I'd also recommend grabbing Hunter's Mark. This is actually going to be the better. If you want pure damage in the early game, apply Hunter's Mark and you can reapply it for free. This gives you additional damage on your attacks and all attacks against that target, so this can actually make a massive boost to our overall DPS early game. Also, this is the Hunter outfit by Ren. Thought it would fit perfectly for this. But into level 3, we get to choose our subclass, which we're going to choose, obviously, the Hunter, which gives us the Hunter's Prey. The Horde Breaker, in my opinion, is the best choice, allowing you to attack 2 targets beside each other, both ranged or melee. I think this is the best. The Colossus Slayer gives you an additional 1d8 damage to the targets below its maximum health points once per turn. But I think the Horde Breaker brings a bigger benefit. Even the Giant Killer, which can give you a reaction attack on a large attacker that attacks you. That's nice for the extra damage. But I think Horde Breaker, again, just ends up being a bit more beneficial for us. We also get to take another spell, and I think Fog Cloud is great. Hail of Thorn's okay, but we have a better version of that, basically. And Long Strider for the +3 movement speed is great if you don't have someone else that already has it on your party. So yeah, the Horde Breaker, I think, ends up being a pretty solid choice here. Level 4 gives us a feat. I'd recommend grabbing a boost to our Dexterity. This will give us a nice +1 to our attack rolls in our armor class. And a +5 to initiative from the alert feat is another great choice. Now, if we really want to go all in on the bow, Sharpshooter is going to be the best choice, which will give us a +10 to the damage but a -5 to the attack rolls. This is really good. Sharpshooter is very effective, so we will grab that. Level 5 gives us our extra attack. This is a huge power spike, and we also get access to level 2 spells. I personally really like Pass Without a Trace for the +10 to stealth checks. This can be really great, especially if you're going to be focusing on more of a stealth-based playthrough. But you can also go with the Silence to be able to stop spellcasters. And I think Spike Growth is massive because it creates a difficult terrain for the enemies, slowing them down and making them take piercing damage every 1.5 meters they move. It is a concentration, but it lasts for 100 turns. Really effective for locking down an area of the battlefield. But Silence is great for stopping spellcasters, and if you like the stealth-based gameplay, Pass Without a Trace will be your best friend. Level 6. Now, we get extra choices here. However, there's a little bit of a trick that we can do. Now, if you want, you don't have to, you can add in a single level of either the Warlock, and you could go with the Hexblade is nice because it gives you the Hexblade's Curse, which can give you a nice little bonus on attacks. And they also get the Shield spell, which is really useful. You could also just go with adding in a level of the Wizard, which can teach you the Booming Blade. We want Booming Blade. If you didn't take the High Elf, we want to grab this somehow, so this is another way that we can get it. Entirely up to you, but Booming Blade doesn't use any type of spell casting, so that's something that's nice about it. We need to go level 11 with the Ranger, so if you didn't take the High Half Elf, take a level of the Wizard, the Warlock, or the Sorcerer. You can even start with the Sorcerer for Constitution saving throw proficiency. And with this, you can get a few different features like the extra health, built-in mage armor, or the Shadow Magic gives you the ability to come back up one time when you're downed, and also, again, gives you the Booming Blade cantrip. I, however, think the Hexblade is the best choice because this gives us shield. We naturally don't get that, and shield's such a good spell. Increasing armor class by 5 is a reaction, which can make you survive a lot of attacks you normally wouldn't survive. And you can also get Eldritch Blast, although I wouldn't fully recommend using Eldritch Blast because it's going to be charisma based and we don't have a high charisma, whereas this isn't really based on it. And do note this will change our spell casting from scrolls, but you're typically not going to be using many scrolls as a hunter, so it's not a huge deal. I like to take Mage Hand because you can use this to throw water bottles to set up damage or double lightning and cold damage for your spellcasters, or you can throw health potions, and a Supreme Potion of Healing will give you 40 health for a free action. That's massive. And Booming Blade there. And again, for the spells we'll be grabbing, don't use this here, the Bind Hex weapon. We're just going to be taking this for the shield, Booming Blade, and then also you could grab Hex or the Hellish Rebuke. Hellish Rebuke's nice for the extra fire damage on attackers, or Armor of Agathis. Those are all great choices, but we want that Booming Blade. If you took the High Elf, just ignore this and keep on with the Hunter. So continue back into the Ranger, we got our next favorite enemy. Again, you can take the Ranger Knight for the heavy armor proficiency. And if you didn't want, you could take the Beast Tamer there, but I think that adding in an elemental damage type resistance like poison or cold is much better just for your overall survivability. Taking half damage from that is great. Level 7 gives us another choice in spell. We can take either silence or pass with a trace, depending if you're born defensive or offensive focus. And we get a defensive tactic. The defensive tactics are interesting, so you can get to escape the Horde, given opportunity attacks against you, disadvantage. That's pretty nice, but as a ranger, you don't have to move as much because you get bow attacks. Steel Will give you advantage on saving throws against being frightened, and my personal favorite, the multi-attack defense, which anytime you get attacked, the next attack will have a -4 attack penalty until the start of their next turn, so they're much less likely to hit you a second time around. They may still try, but they're much less likely to land that attack. Level 8 gives us the difficult terrain, no longer slows us down with the land stride, and then we also get another feat here. Now, I recommend taking the sharpshooter. You could go with the crossbow expert and do close range attacks. That's going to be high damage, but I also just like the boost to our overall dexterity too. Level 9 gives us our first level 3 spell slot, and we can take some fun spells like Plant Growth. This is basically crowd control without concentrations. Lightning Arrow is nice, 48 lightning plus 2d8 lightning. Not massive damage, but it spreads to multiple targets. Conjure Barrage is nice, but we also have a better version that coming in a couple levels, so we'll just take the Lightning Arrow. Sometimes there's opportunities where lightning damage is going to be most effective. Not always going to be that great, but it's a choice. Level 10 gives us a hide in plain sight, plus in the stealth checks as long as you stand still and are invisible. Great. Also going to take another favorite enemy. This one doesn't really matter. It's either proficiency in religion, arcana, or arcana with protection from good and evil, true strike. Nothing really here is super useful. You could take Sacred Flame if you really wanted it. Not really necessary. Natural Explorer, again, you could go with the Divine Familiar or a Cold Damage Resistance, which is nice because Cone of Cold starts popping up here. And for level 11, our best level, because it gives us the Volley, fire cascade of magical broadheads and bodkin arrows upon nearby foes, and also the Whirlwind Attack, straight out all near foes, and do separate attack rolls against each target. These are huge attacks that give us a big spike to our overall damage. Then we can also take, I guess, Plant Growth for the crowd control or the Path Without Trace. All right, now, so as far as gear goes, we need to offset our attack roll negatives. So the Mask of Soul Perception adds a +2 to attack rolls. Early game, the Haste Helmet will give you nice bonus speed to your movement speed, which can be pretty useful. But I do like this one. Alternatively, we can add in the Steel Watcher helmet in the late game because this will allow you to see in darkness and give you advantage of Constitution saving throw checks. So we can set up darkness. If you're a drow, you get darkness built in, or you could use an arrow of darkness. So that's really good too. And I guess for level 12, if you didn't take the single level dip, you could just add in another dexterity increase, but that is going to be one of the two options here, either the Steel Watcher helmet or the Mask of Soul Perception. I'll show you what this can do because hunters and rangers in general can have a little bit of stealth and be pretty effective. Cloak of Protection for the bonus to armor class. Ballast Armor, late game item, but this will make it so that targets are vulnerable to piercing damage if they're at close range. This is really nice because you can set up darkness, give yourself advantage on attacks, and then targets can get hit with you at close range. Even if they're immune to it, they still will take damage from the Ballast Armor. It also gives us a +2 to our initiative so that we go first. Early game or even in the mid game, something medium armor like the Armor of Agility will be much better for survivability. That gives us 23 AC, which is nice. And we also have heavy armor, so you could go with something like the Armor Persistence or best available armor really at that point in the game. Adamantine Scale Mail is going to be a good choice too at the early game. This Act 1 is probably best choice for the Ranger. Now, again, we need to offset our weapon attack rolls, so +2 bonus to attack and damage rolls from the Legacy of the Masters. Also, the Disintegrating Nightwalkers. And the Constitution Amulet sets us at 147 health. I have the Snowburst Ring, which I'll show you why in a second. And also the Ring of Protection. For our melee weapons, the Knife of the Undermounted King, Act 1, will give you increased critical hit chance. And you get advantage on attack rolls when lately are heavily obscured. So I'll show you why this is important. Shadowblade's really good. You also have the Dolo Amaris here, giving you additional damage on critical hits. And we have the Titan string bow. Now, if you're going to use the Titan string bow, I'd recommend taking your strength up to 27 with a strength potion. Otherwise, you're not going to get as much damage. It adds a +8 to the damage, which is actually pretty massive. Now, even if you don't have that Gaunter Mail, is a good choice. This gives you the Celestial Haste, which is really good. Hellrider Longbow gives a +3 to initiative, which is nice too. And the Vicious Shortbow will give you increased critical hit chance. The Bow of the Banshee is another good choice. And the Deadshot, which will give you increased crit chance. So those are some good choices. If you want to go with hand crossbows, the Hellfire hand crossbow and the Firestoker or Near Misser is a great choice. But I think the Titan string just adds the most damage possible. Now, you want to have someone with the Drake Throat Glaive here, because this is the Draconic Elemental Weapon, which is going to set up our bow attack. So with this, you got the Elemental Age here, and we're going to add the Cold Draconic Elemental Weapon. Make sure that first you pull out your bow. So on your character here, make sure that you just pull out the arrow first, so that you apply that bonus damage to your arrow attack. So you can see now that's a +1d4 of cold damage, which is really nice. And this will even count on your volleys as well, which will then create ice surfaces below enemies, and they'll end up slipping quite a bit. So for our first round of combat, I'd actually recommend setting up some form of crowd control. Now, a good way to do this is using an Arrow of Darkness to set up, since we have that helmet that lets us see in the dark. So we can go ahead there, taking out that target. We'll eat the opportunity attack. If you have the ability that gives you disadvantage on ability gives you the target disadvantage on their attacks there, you can avoid that. So we're immune to blindness and we're immune to ice with the Disintegrating Nightwalkers, which we're going to set up that really easily. So for our next attack, I'd recommend actually to either use your volley attack here. If you can hit multiple targets, we're going to use the volley. So boom, volley works great there. And we created ice surfaces in a, we unfortunately missed that target, but we created an ice surface there, which is what we wanted. Now for our second action, we can hold a concentration on spike growth, which is really nice because this will create, do a little bit of damage over time on the enemies, especially if they have to move around. This can be really nice because it forces them to kind of relocate. Unfortunately, Minsk is in that area. We're still going to pop that down there, so he's immune to it. That's fine. They're now going to take the damage from the spike growth, which is exactly what we want. Now we can also have either the Hexblade Curse. We already have a concentration on spike growth, so we can't use Hunter's Mark, but we can apply the Hexblade's Curse on the target. It's just nice. We got that single level dip from the Warlock there, and that just gives us the ability to use that. So we can then camp out in our darkness. We're safe here. You can also use Pass Without Trace and actually hide in your darkness before combat even starts, which is kind of funny. We actually have someone attacking us in the darkness, which is fine. We have our Warlock spell slot that we can use to give ourselves that free shield too, which is kind of a nice ability. So that's one little thing about it. For some reason, it didn't consume our Warlock spell slot. And yeah, I'm not sure what happened there, but we avoided the attack. That's all that matters. Now, the thing is, we can also do our multiple attacks here, the Horde Breakers. So you can see here, we can attack this target, and then you get the free attack on the second target here. So following up with a follow-up range attack. So yeah, unfortunately didn't get affected on it, but normally you can attack two targets that are right beside each other. I might mess something up there. Now we see there's a couple targets right here. Another thing is purchase as many Arrow of Many targets as possible. So what's nice about this is that we have advantage against this target. So boom, this is going to spread our ice surfaces around to multiple targets. We now have a full icy thing there. And the thing is, an Arrow of Many targets, if it crits on the first attack, it'll crit on the rest of them too. So that's really good. So yeah, we do have the volleys, but we also, it's a game of seeing how many targets you can get. If you can get 3 targets in a volley, do the volley. If not, Arrow Many targets will hit 4 targets, so it's probably better to go with the Arrow Many targets, so you can go boom, 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 and spread your ice surfaces around just like that. It's pretty nice. You also got Ensnaring Strike, which is a great choice early game, and we also have the pushing attack from our not the Battle Master, but the Titan String Bow there, so that's good too. But we're going to go ahead here. I'll see if I can actually do a Arrow Many target. It probably is not going to bounce to that target there, but yeah, it did. Nice. So yeah, that was a good way to spread around the damage. Arrow Many targets is really nice in how many targets it can hit. And then we can go ahead here with our offhand attack on this target, which is enough to take them out, and then retreat back to our little vacation land in the darkness. And that was perfect. They went to go attack them, and they slipped on the ice, which is so funny. We have lots of crowd control, which is great. So yeah, what's great is you got spike growth there. I don't know why they would have done that instead of a weapon attack. But yeah, we can even go in with our whirlwind attack. There's no downside to using that over your normal attacks. So I'd recommend actually doing that because it's just the weapons attack, it looks really cool. So yeah, 36 damage on that attack, and then we can follow it up on the other target there. Whirlwind. Unfortunately, not close enough. The whirlwind attack looks really cool. I love the VFX for this. So yeah, boom, there it is, 30 damage, enough to finish them off. So the Hunter Ranger, you got great options with the volley being such a good way to spread your cold damage around to multiple targets. It's a large area of effect, but sometimes you're not able to hit as many targets as you want, so that's when we want to use our other arrows. We also have arrows of transposition here, which are a nice way to teleport if you need to get away really quickly. Although taking something like the boots of the disintegrating Nightwalkers here for that Misty Step is a little bit better as it uses a bonus action. But lots of arrows. We even got Booming Blade at close range if we need to. So a lot of different stuff that we can do in combat. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Hit the subscribe button below if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all in the next video.